Okay, today we're going to get into something a lot of us see as a strength, maybe even something to be proud of. But what if it's actually an echo of a much deeper story? We're talking about the psychology of the hyper-independent adult. Does that sound familiar? It's fine, I'll just do it myself. Come on, be honest. Maybe that's your personal mantra when you're feeling overwhelmed, or maybe it's something you hear a friend say all the time. It's kind of the calling card of someone who's mastered the art of handling everything completely alone. I mean, on the surface, it seems so simple, right? Somebody offers you a hand, you take it. But for so many people, that simple act can feel deeply, deeply uncomfortable, sometimes even impossible. So, what's going on there? Why is accepting help so hard for some of us? That's the big puzzle we're going to piece together in this explainer. So let's start by painting a picture of what this looks like. In this first part, we're going to look at all the outward signs, the recognizable archetype of that fiercely self-sufficient person. So the key characteristics are this intense self-reliance and just an almost allergic reaction to asking for help. You know these people. They're often the ones everyone else leans on, the strong ones, but they feel completely uncomfortable depending on anyone else. And what happens? They end up shouldering these huge burdens all by themselves. Does any of this ring a bell for you? Now, here's the crucial thing to get. This isn't a personality trait someone is just born with. Not at all. To really understand the why behind it, we've actually got to go back in time. We have to travel back to the source. And that source can often be traced to something called early emotional neglect. Basically, it's when a child's needs for comfort or support or just validation are consistently ignored or just not met. And the key thing here is that this kind of neglect is often invisible. It's not about a lack of food or shelter, it's about a lack of emotional presence from a caregiver. And this brings us to a really important distinction. This can happen in homes that are filled with love. It's not that the parents didn't care, it's that they weren't emotionally attuned. They couldn't see or understand or validate the child's inner world, and that leaves a kid feeling completely emotionally alone. So, what does a child do in an environment like that? Well, kids are brilliant survivors, right? This next part is all about their incredible, and ultimately pretty painful, adaptation to this kind of emotional silence. Let's just walk through how this works. A kid is sad, or they're scared, and they reach out for comfort. But that need is repeatedly ignored or maybe even dismissed. They learn a really powerful lesson and fast. My feelings are an inconvenience, or even worse, my needs are the problem. So, to survive, to stay connected in the only way they know how, they do the only thing they can. They just go silent. They stop expressing their needs. And this right here, this is the direct line from a childhood coping skill to an adult's inner belief. The child's self-protection logic is, hey, if I don't need anything, I can't get hurt. I can't be disappointed. I'll be safe. But you fast forward 20 years, and that same logic has hardened into this core belief. Depending on other people is a weakness. I am a burden. The very shield that protected them has now become a prison. Which brings us to our final section, where we connect all these dots right back to that adult we met at the beginning. And we have to ask the question, is this behavior really a sign of strength, or is it just the echo of an old survival tactic? I think this metaphor of a wall is just perfect. That strategy of being totally self-sufficient was an absolutely essential tool for a child who felt like they had no one else to rely on. But that same tool, when it's carried into adulthood, becomes a wall. And that wall keeps support and intimacy and real connection out. So it's just so important to understand that hyper-independence isn't some kind of personality flaw. It's not about being stubborn or arrogant. It's the story of a brilliant survival skill that has simply outlived its purpose. It's a strategy whose expiration date has passed. So I just want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. We're always taught to admire this radical independence as the ultimate sign of strength. But what if the greatest act of strength isn't doing it all alone? What if it's actually finding the courage to finally learn how to lean on others again?